Hello everybody, Keith here again. In a comment on one of my videos recently, somebody said, "Oh Keith, you grow Phalaenopsis so well." And I thought, well, perhaps that's an idea for a video. Just have a look at how I grow them and successes and failures and what have you. And I can also give you a bit of an idea of how I grow all our plants. Now, this is being done in the middle of October. It's the 13th, and we've gone into what you might call winter mode. So this conservatory, during the summer, things like this Strelitzia, I don't know how well you can see that against that backlight. Let me come round here a bit so you can perhaps get it away from the, there we are, that's better. Get away from the backlight. This is a Strelitzia, bird of paradise, and that is a bit of a pig. Takes up a lot of room, and it was an absolute nightmare until I bought, can you see that down there? That little tray. It's got wheels on. It was dirt cheap. I've got another one. It came as a pair. It was dirt cheap, and it's got casters on, the sort of thing you'd find at the bottom of a cupboard. So it moves around now quite easily, and I can shuffle it around when I want to come and water my plants. But that lives outside. Sort of as soon as it gets above about 10 at night until it goes back to around that. So that's been inside about a fortnight now. As have all my cymbidiums, which are down there by the door, which is, as far as I can manage it, the coolest part of the room. And in the background, which we'll come to again in a sec, you can see two of our 4 Christmas cacti, although they're all running a bit fast at the moment. They'll all be in flower before long. These struts up in the roof of the conservatory are not that strong. Really, they are tie rods which are holding the sides of the conservatory together and the nose of the conservatory, if you want to call it that, background here up to the house, as you can see. Right. So this little table normally sits by the window, but as you'll see in a second, I haven't actually got room to put it anywhere. But that Oncidium, which is actually a Catatanti Pacific Sun Spots, doesn't seem to mind very much. It's quite happy doing there, and lo and behold, we've got a spike. The first one for a couple of years. It didn't flower last year. This green rack mostly got most of my collection of Noble E-type dendrobiums on. I really need to get rid of several, because you can see how big they get. Again, let's come round a little bit. So I've got my back. There we are, that's better. So this green rack came originally as part of a little greenhouse, and the covers weren't very clever. They used to get shredded first time that it got any wind. But the framework's quite good, so I use this for orchids now. On the end of that is my last remaining Tulumnia, which has got a nice new growth on. And we've got a lovely collection of roots on the back, which are branching and doing really well, so I'm pleased with that. I lost the other one. And then on the bottom shelf you can see there's a white Christmas cactus there, nearly in flower. There's a red one there, nearly in flower. The other two are in bud. And then down at the bottom, the only two that are on this shelf, we've got my Rhinanthera Monochica crossed with Amayani, and that's grown pretty well this year, right, down there. And that is Dendrobium kingianum, the Silcocii variant. That hasn't flowered last year, but it has grown some really nice canes, so I'm keeping my fingers crossed there. And then I think we're going to struggle to get far enough back for this, but this is my main plant rack, and it's got all my tall plants, my epidendrum, and that's growing really well. The current canes are still going and they're very tall. Another one of those catatantes, this was a bit that fell off the original when I repotted it the first time, and that's growing itself well. That one's never flowered yet. Some hard cane Dendrobium sarnuc dendrobiums, and in the background we've got 3 amaryllis which have still got the leaves. Baryoda in the background there, I've got several of those kicking about, and some cakeys, twinkles. This was quite curious. This is a red twinkle. Last time I repotted the main plant, one pseudobulb fell off and it was green. It's got roots, so I stuck it in a pot and thought, well, it can live or die, it doesn't really matter, and it's grown a lovely nice new pseudobulb, so that one's doing okay. And then on this third shelf, a bit of a collection of oddments, and that unfortunately is one of my cattleyas I got for my birthday in 2021, and that looks like it's finally died. It's been struggling for a long time, and I didn't really expect that to survive, and it isn't doing. Right. Two more hanging plants up there. My two sort of living cattleyas, if you want to look at it like that. The one on the right is a no ID white one. This one is RTH Xingming Beauty Rainbow, and we've got a sheath in there, and with the light behind it you can see it's trying to form a bud. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed. Now, as part of the winterisation, as you might call it, I brought one of my tanks of Restrepia down here, and one of my Masdevallias. There we go. But I mean, in here now, last night it got down to 15.5, and it's now at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, it's 23 degrees. We're not getting anything like the temperatures that we should be doing. Now, this is the only phal which is still in here, and that of course is Pink Twilight. And the problem with Pink Twilight is it's just physical size. Now, if I can, I will put that on a windowsill. But as you can see, that spike is already getting silly, and it's still going. That spike could end up being, very easily being, well over 1 metre long. It's done that before. So, yes, it's great, it's such a vigorous plant, but it's a pain in the proverbial to actually do anything with it. Right, so that's been a quick look around the conservatory. So we've got big American hybrid Paphiopedilum there. There's an epiphyllum cactus, that's a big ugly looking thing, but the flowers are gorgeous. Round here we've got a Clivia. That with that. It's not really changing the exposure very well, but that's a Clivia which is doing a bit better. That also goes outside. So you've seen inside here, that's the main grow space, and one where I keep quite a number of the Phals through the summer. But now we'll go and have a look at some of the other places. You might well see all of the places where I keep my orchids. So no Phalaenopsis here except this one, which it isn't. This is a Rhinanthera crossed with a Phalaenopsis, but to all intents and purposes it's a Phalaenopsis type. Several Phals, Oncidium types. Oh, there is a Phal there, that's Manii. That lives here all the time. My Miltonia Aureliana, Voice Techiara, which I'm always struggling with until I've moved it in here. It's a little bit cooler than the conservatory, well, it's a lot cooler in summer than the conservatory, and it's doing better since I've been in there. But that's this kitchen windowsill, and it's where I started keeping orchids, and it's still the place where most of them will find some way to grow. It tends to sit between about 18 and 22, and some are possibly 24, but it doesn't get that hot. This is where I keep most of my smaller Phalaenopsis. Tolumnia hawksiana on its mount. I'm thinking of changing how that one's kept. Still on a mount, but I'm going to try hanging it up like the Tolumnia. In that little dome there's a couple of jewel orchids, which I bought at Malvern. They're doing quite well, but they're filling that space up quicker than I thought they would. These two are Oncidium sotoanum with new growths on. One's doing really well and one isn't as well, but doing something. That's an Oncostili wildcat. This is Rainbow, that's out in flower. One of my two Alisara Marfitch Renaissance Coral started opening 2 or 3 days ago. My one and only Brassivola, bought as Nodosa, possibly a hybrid, but not quite sure until it comes into flower, but that's growing really well, chucking roots out like there's no tomorrow. And then we've got a little collection of Phalaenopsis in this corner. Mostly no IDs. We've got Equestris there, and we've got a couple of my various no IDs there, and in the back corner just there is Pink Clouds, which I bought, or I won actually, in a raffle at our last East Midlands Orchid Society meeting, and the next one's on Sunday, so almost certainly a month ago. I repotted it pretty much as soon as I got back, and if you doesn't want to focus. Oh, there we are. No, there we go. We've got a spike already. So that's where I normally keep it. As you can see, there's a radiator behind it. The radiator's on a thermostatic valve. People say that radiators are bad news for orchids. Mine don't seem to mind. I don't really know why. The only windowsill that doesn't have a radiator underneath it that I keep orchids on is the one in the kitchen, and things seem to work okay all the way around the house. This is one of our 4 upstairs bedrooms. It was used exclusively with our grandchildren, hence all the stuffed toys in the background, but as there's something between 17 and 23 at the moment, I don't think stuffed toys have got a lot to do with anything these days. That, as those of you that follow the channel will know, is one of my Restrepi that I'm keeping in this little aquarium that I bought to keep shrimp in, which wasn't terribly successful. But this, with that little light on top, which is on a timer on the wall, that's doing really well. It's the best of all of them. This windowsill faces southwest. Southwest? Yes, I think so. No, northwest, I think. West is more or less to the left anyway, so yes, it will be northwest, because the sun goes down behind those trees over there, so more or less northwest. A tray of Masdevallias. It's quite interesting that these nidificas went quite red through the summer. I brought them up here because it's, again, like the kitchen windowsill, it's cooler. But these are obviously getting a bit too much light. And I got a piece of cheesecloth and fastened it in the window to give them a bit of shade to try and help. Leodoro, not very happy at all at the moment. I've got a sneaking feeling I might be losing it. It was put on the downstairs front windowsill where it was getting morning sunlight, and I think it started by getting sunburnt, and it's not happy, not at all happy. Got lots of roots and what have you, so I've brought it up here so it will be able to rest. I'm probably going to take these spikes off before long and just let it be, either live or die. I'm not sure there's a lot I can do about that. This one is Miltonidium Bartley Schwartz Highland. Went backwards, I didn't repot it fast enough, but we've now got some nice new growths that are doing quite well, so hopefully that one's going to come round. And then the ones that you know very well, Fuller's Sunset Golden Sun and Mini Mark in the background, both of which are in need of a repot. This is my Doritis pulcherrima variant Alba. Again, brought it up here out of the conservatory because it's just going to start getting too cold for any of these. So there's that. That's the other Marfitch Renaissance Coral. It wasn't as good a plant to start with. It's not such a good plant now, but we have got a new growth, so I'm hoping that's going to pick round. My Psychopsis mariposa, again brought out the conservatory because this really prefers a bit more temperature, a bit warmer temperature wise, but it's also likes light, so I didn't want to put it anywhere else. So up here it will get a reasonable amount of light. And then my three zygote types. We've got the species Cronitum on the left, one there that we've identified as Louisendorf, that bought us one called Sensation, which it never was because it never had a smell. And then back there in the background is Rhine Blue Angel. Not the greatest of spikes this time, but got spikes. It's been repotted, so it should be happier. So where does that leave us? Well, I suppose really if we're talking about Phalaenopsis, they get watered roughly once a week. I try and put my finger into the pot to get a feel for how wet it is lower down. But really, they get fed while they're showing any evidence of growth, whether it's roots or leaves, all get fed, and while they're in flower they get fed. Otherwise they'll get fed less frequently, and I'll just put rainwater through them otherwise. But say while they're doing something they get fed, because with that full of sunset golden sun I learnt my lesson where it wasn't getting fed enough. Bloomed really well, grew really well, then exhausted itself, and I don't want to go through that again. I use a commercial fertiliser which I've used for a number of years now, and I'm quite happy with the results I get. I add CalMag to that because I use rainwater rather than now tap water, which has got calcium and magnesium in it, but I don't know what else is in there. So basically they don't, for me, Phalaenopsis don't take a lot of looking after. If they're in a room that I can walk around in reasonable comfort, and they're happy. That's what everybody says, and that's what I find. It's one of those things I find it astonishing when somebody says, oh, you know, I can't grow Phals to save my life, and I just wonder, how on earth is that? They're so easy. And yet how often do we hear people say about other things, you know, I don't grow cymbidiums very well, and other people can turn them out, you know, like falling out of bed. So I don't know. It's, you know, it's one of life's mystery, isn't it? So I hope that little whip around my grow spaces has been of a little bit of interest, with a concentration on my Phalaenopsis types. And I look forward to seeing you soon. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.